All right, mates, welcome back. We are going to talk here about some custom chatters real quickly. First and foremost, make sure you check out the springtime sale, Phantom Outdoors. Check them out. If you need a discount code for that, just message me here on Instagram. I'll set you up with a discount code. Chatterbaits, right? Let's be honest. Probably one of the more revolutionary things to hit in the last few years. Everybody's throwing a chatterbait. I was just out yesterday, and literally I noticed 6 different rods on the deck, all with chatterbaits. So you know that is basically something that's happened. Strategy wise, you can think about if you're, to go a different direction. I'm a kind of a contrarian fisherman. I like to fish what no one else is fishing. Just because I kind of understand, I believe in the behavior. I give fish a little bit more credit than a lot of people do, I think, in terms of what they're conditioned to noise-wise, sight, what they're, they adapt pretty quickly to a lot of things. But chatterbait is clearly one of the top baits the last 5+ years. Let's be honest. Sales-wise, if you're a bait maker, patents still probably. I think patents probably come off probably soon. I would think. And what I mean by that is, I think it's Z-Man the patent on the actual setup on the blade. A lot of people always ask why the jackhammers are so expensive. A lot of that has to do with the supplies. You can talk to a bait maker; they can kind of tell you I think it's a Gamakatsu hook on a jackhammer. That's not the same hook that they have on their original chatterbait and their original lines that are maybe $6 to $8. Obviously, you can pay upwards of $16 for a jackhammer. But when we're talking about chatterbaits, and the reason why I'm talking about chatterbaits this morning is I was breaking out the chatterbaits because I just got word that the crawl are starting to show up slowly but surely. And so when you have crawl and you have grass, 2 things that should scream to you, and I've talked about before, are, in the spring, lipless crankbaits, chatterbaits. Now, why those 2 seem completely, different? They're not. Okay? In terms of when you're fishing a crawl forage species, how you're going to do it. Doesn't matter whether you're going to be flipping a jig, doesn't matter if you're going to be the chatterbait, otherwise known as a bladed jig or a vibrating jig, okay? Or you're going to fish the lipless crank. The difference is, early on in the spring, why the lipless crankbait is a little bit more, at least for me, and where I am. If it's different for you, comment in the section and let me know, let me have it. The lipless for me is more effective early in the spring because the grass isn't as developed, so the trebles don't get tied up, hooked up. You can kind of get them and pull them through a little bit. I prefer a hop motion. Hop it, let it fall, hop it, rip it, kind of change it up. Okay, all those things to get a reaction bite, to get a strike. Okay. As the grass comes in a little bit more, it gets, over the course of the spring and into the summer, that grass line gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker, and that's when you want to move off the lipless crankbait for the most part. Unless you're really skilled at it and you can stay outside. For me, I can fish the Susquehanna Flats. There's so much grass, and it's so thick in pockets that you're, by late May, June, it's, the grass is so thick that unless you're doing the outside edges on during the tide changes, right? Because you want to work from the, some people work from the outside in, some people work from the inside out, depending if you're on a tidal fishery. There's different opportunities there. I'll cover that later on. But for the most part, you move to the chatter because it's a single blade, okay? It's going to come through like a spinnerbait. It comes through that grass better, more efficiently. Plus, you've got the blade, okay, creating all kinds of vibration and noise to attract, to entice a strike, okay? Now, your options really don't change much from your mentality of your soft plastic approach to your chatterbait colors, right? At least for me, because again, clearer water, you want a lesser, maybe go to, I think, I think it's called the stealth blades. People use those, in clear water, reservoir water. If you're from Virginia, Smith Mountain Lake, maybe Lake Anna, deeper, clearer water, as opposed to river guys, river rats, which tend to have muddier water, more stain to it, all that. And so we're going with gold. We're going to go with gold or copper, okay? Gold or copper blades, okay, for flashing reasons. And so right here I have two, okay, with crawl being the dominant now. We're going to move into that here in the river, whether you're on the Susquehanna, the Upper Potomac, places like that. Your crawl pattern, okay, is going to come into play. Now, still don't move far away from your green pumpkins. Don't move far, don't go extreme colors, all of that. I mean, stay within that brown, orange kind of, or spring greenish green pumpkin with a lot like a, obviously a dark, a chartreuse kind of like popping color, like you'll get right here. This is obviously he's not a chatterbait, but okay, that kind of color. This mimics perch. I got this out because of this afternoon, where I'm going this afternoon. Identify your forage species, okay? For me, if I'm going to reservoirs, it is predominantly bluegill perch. If I'm going to the river, it's going to be, crawl, shad, river herring, right? And so know that, okay? Because those are your primary, things in terms of your chatterbait. How you think about chatterbaits, you really should think about them in two lanes. Crawl, if you're a river guy in our region, okay? And then bait fish forage profiles. Shad, perch, bluegill, blueback herring, okay? And so they're a little bit different, all right? And so if you're flipping, for example, you're going to use that kind of trailer, okay? You're going to use a crawl trailer as you're flipping it, as you're hopping it, so you're getting a little bit of that. And obviously the weights of your jig, the weight of your chuck or your trailer, whatever you've got on it, are going to influence your rate of fall all the time, all day long, okay? And you can put those trailers. And the beauty thing about jigs, if you're a jig guy like me, who I tend to finesse fish more. So going into power fishing, I'm still torn a lot about how I approach things. So I can incorporate a little bit my thought process for finesse into power fishing a lot if you're burning. Okay, so when you're fishing those bait fish patterns, let's say shad, for example, you're more or less burning. You're trying to, depending on your rate of retrieve, right? It's completely different than if you're craw fishing. Okay, so when I go out in the morning, I'm getting everything hooked. I'm getting everything ready to start out with my jig, chatterbait. I'll pack lipless crankbaits. I'll only pack 8 to 10 baits, mates. I don't pack that. I don't pack freaking 100 baits that I know I'm not going to use. I don't. Okay? The patterns are the patterns. They are what they are, and they are consistent every year. It's just a matter of what the timing is. Okay? And so when I look at that and I'm looking at the crawl, you're not burning a crawl bait. Okay? That's not, you certainly could try, but that's not where the hookup rate and the catch rate ratios come. You want to use that hop and fall, rip and then let it fall. You're not just burning it across the water, okay? Like a spinnerbait. A lot of people do that, okay? And that's great, I think, for reservoirs, okay? But not in shallow water, effectively grass, when you're optimally targeting crawl as the forage, okay? And so you can use this different weight. The weight matters, okay? A lot of people talk about how sometimes the actual hooks in terms of what hooks they are. Obviously, like I said before, jackhammers, Gamakatsu, and then you've got all different kinds of hooks all the way down, because in terms of how that pricing model works as to why chatterbaits go from $6 to $16. In terms of the blade color, in my area, especially now after the flooding and everything we have, it's going to take probably another week or two for the river to really, really clear up. It's still muddy, or off color in most areas. So gold and then copper, as opposed to, clear or silver. Okay, is really what you want to do. Now, one of the interesting things you can do about your chatterbaits when you work with a custom bait maker is you can take them your jig. Okay, I prefer jigs that are, maybe they use living rubber, but maybe I actually like to add hair to jigs and then tie them off. So you see here, that's green pumpkin and hair. This one, rubber, no hair. Okay, and you just change it out. You can change out your trailers. Okay, you can go with the grub trailer. Okay, you can go with, obviously, the crawl trailer. Okay, and the thing about custom bait makers is you can take your jigs to your custom bait maker. Okay, and he can actually pour you soft plastics to pair up with the jig that you have. You're not going to get that from Z-Man in terms of buying your jackhammer. It's not going to come with a trailer. Okay, so you've got that ability to change these out, to change your trailers out however you want, and you can add all kinds of different trailers to them, whether it's a standard grub, okay, paddle tail. Obviously, you want to use the paddle tail swim bait style in your reservoirs. In my opinion, go with the craw and the grub in the river systems. And I think you'd be highly more effective. So it's kind of like river versus reservoir. Have baits ready for where you're actually going, and because obviously the technique needs to be a little different. All right, that was just a chatterbait update. Hope everybody's having a great day.